How's it going? And welcome back. It's Crystal Palace in the future. Today, 5 years and 10 years. We're getting into the nitty gritty. What is my legacy at this club? How has the last decade treated them? Let's go find out together, shall we? Yes, folks, welcome back to Park to Prem in the future. Is this a normal Park to Prem episode? Does this count? Is this episode 67? I don't know how it works. I've not figured it out. Either way, we're back. To kick things off today, we are 5 years in the future. The year is 2042. I'm still developing friendships with various players, including Collins, of course, one of our former players who's gone on to be a manager, bless him. He's not been hired by anyone yet, so that's a little bit sad. In terms of other players who are favourites, doesn't look like there's any other former players who've retired and decided we're best friends. So I suppose the inevitable thing to start things today isn't to look at Crystal Palace. Instead, I want to look at FC United. Does anyone else want to look at FC United? And, okay, they're still just in the Championship, and they've been in the Championship for the last decade. Ricardo Rodillo is apparently their key man. He is on loan from Newcastle. I'm still a legend. Dylan Crow's still a legend. Of course, he's retired. Stephen Gold is on loan from Grimsby, playing for Magdeburg in the third division of Germany. There you go. Stephen Gold fan club. There's your update. 35 years old. He's retiring at the end of the... I feel sad. Does anyone else feel sad? I have also just spotted a wild Jarrell Quansah, who unfortunately did retire a few years ago now. The Ghanaian international with 4 caps, made 60 appearances for Ufa in Russia, and he retired at the age of 35. Never really captured the goal-scoring form he had for us. 34 goals he scored for FC United. Across all the other teams he played for, he managed 6. I'll be honest, a little underwhelmed by FC United. I suppose me not giving them money is probably holding them back a little bit. Broadhurst Park, though, has been expanded to be a 20,000-seater stadium. And I suppose the fact that now for almost a decade, they've just been a steady-as-you-go Championship team, that should somewhat be applauded, right? When you consider where they were when we first took over them, almost 20 years ago now, and the fact that actually they've now been in the Championship for over a decade, they've done okay. You know what? I'm happy with this. I suppose the next thing is, where's Crystal Palace? I suppose let's start by just looking here. I'd be concerned if after 5 years Crystal Palace were in the Championship. And the good news is, they're not in the Championship. Where are they? Okay, well, Thomas Tuchel is not here. Julian Nagelsmann has come in to be manager. Another German taking over. Not that there's anything wrong with Germans, it's just a weird trend that's emerged. You can see here, Thomas Tuchel was sacked as manager after 2 years and 300 days in the job. He left at the end of the 2040 seasons. That was 3 seasons after we left. And of course, 2 years after we left things last time. Julian Nagelsmann's come in. He's been in charge for 2 years. And in that time, they have won the UEFA Super Cup. They've won the Champions League. And they've won the Premier League twice. Let's go look at the league table. I'm excited now. It looks like they've done okay. Wow, oh wow, oh wow. This is the most recent Premier League season. So this was 5 years after we left. Crystal Palace winning the league. 86 points. Man City and Arsenal just 1 point behind. What a crazy end to the year. Elsewhere, Sheffield United getting relegated whilst also getting Europa League football. Very interesting. In terms of the other seasons, we can see here Crystal Palace won the league the previous year. In fact, they won it with 101 points, which ties our best ever season. So, period of success extended. The year before that, what happened? I've lost my dates now. So, the year before that, they finished 4th. So, I guess that is why we saw a sacking happen. Yeah, 4th place, 75 points. Manchester United running away victors. The year before that, Crystal Palace did win the league. And, of course, the year before that was the first year after we left when they finished 2nd. So, I mean, fair play to Tuchel. He did get them a league win, but that 4th place, not very pretty. The good news is they have recovered it, and back-to-back years now, they've won the Premier League with Nagelsmann as manager, and Marcus Tullio, he's still captain. I say he's still captain. He was vice-captain before, but he's captain now. Now I'm wondering where Juan Pablo da Silva is. I found him. He's playing for Barcelona. Left at Crystal Palace on a free transfer And to be fair, he's done very well at Barcelona. 16 goals and 9 assists in the most recent season. Not too bad. You can see he was very much phased out of the Palace team in the years following our departure. Tullio has stepped up, though, to be captain. The 30-year-old still playing fairly regularly. I felt like when we left the club, he was perhaps the weak link in the team. So to see him still playing regular first-team football is very pleasing. Elsewhere, Zandbergen is considered vice-captain. I mean, he's very, very good, isn't he, Zandbergen? And he is also the star player of this team. Look at that goal-scoring record for the right winger. We ummed and we ahed about the £97 million purchase. I'll tell you what, there was no need to and ah. He got 19 assists and 16 goals last season. He got, I mean, that's ridiculous, isn't it? He got 35 goal contributions in 36 games in the Premier League. 9 man of the matches. I mean, that is mad. He doesn't look that much better than when we left, but yeah, I mean, what can you say? He's an elite winger. He's 31. His physicals have not started to decline yet. I mean, it makes me wonder who else is at the club still. Of course, they've won the Premier League back-to-back years. How much of this team is recognisable? And actually, I'm looking at it, and considering we're 5 years in the future, lots of it is still recognisable. It looks like all those fat contracts we offered to players at the end of our time at the club have kind of worked out. And in fact, many of these players have signed extensions. Does leave me a little bit concerned that when we look at the average age, there is kind of this generation of players that I signed, the likes of Peña, Fontana, Tullio, Horniak, Carlier still at the club, Leonardo, Gurajaga, Chiric. These are all players who, I mean, they're all going to be retiring within a few years of each other. We could end up seeing a rather steep decline. But anyway, let's have a look at the team here. So Leonardo in goal. I mean, it's Leonardo. Kind of, you know what you're going to get with him. At right back, Edison Pabon has slotted in to be the mainstay right back from the looks of things. He looks absolutely phenomenal. Of course, he was a player who we weren't really sure what we were going to do with. He has developed really, really nicely. Had that loan spell at Benfica, and you can see he's just been eased into the first team slowly but surely. But at 25, he is an elite-level talent. Jan Muller, who was one of the players I agreed to sign in my last season at the club, has gone on to have a really good career. He played 31 games for the club this year. He's only 23 years old. He looks absolutely crazy. I feel like he'd be a better right-back with Pabon at centre-back, but who am I to judge? What they're doing is working for them. At left-back, they've also got Elpert in the team. So far, all the players there, players who either I signed or were already at the club when we left things. Fontana, aged 30, still very, very good, isn't he, Fontana? How have his average ratings been? Because I feel like we never really got the best out of him. I say that, he got some good ratings towards the end of things. Looking at his stats, he has gone on to have a very, very successful time. 48 games played as a centre mid, 11 goals and 10 assists. It's not too shabby. Flavio Rodriguez is not one of our players. He was signed this year for 53 million from Benfica. I'm a tad bit underwhelmed by him, if I'm being honest. Zandbergen we've looked at. Horniak is playing centre attacking mid. He's got a few more grey hairs than I seem to remember Horniak. Time has not been kind to our friend here. Signed for 80 million, 14 goals to his name last year, so he had a really, really good season not too long ago. Chiric is playing at left attacking mid. Has he been playing there much this year? No, okay, he's mostly been playing left back. I was going to say, if he's been playing left attacking mid with 1 assist, that'd be a cause for concern. And up top, Heinz Winter, 12 goals in the league in 23 games. Not the craziest of returns, but I mean, look at that polygon. Look how good this man is. 52 goals, 76 caps for Germany. Elsewhere, Kayondo's on the bench. He's still making appearances on off the bench, which I don't understand why the managers are doing that. I can only assume they're doing that to try and keep him happy at the club. Maybe I should have done that with Kayondo. Jonjo Boya is still in at right back, although he has not developed at all. In fact, he looks worse than when I left the club at right back. Carlier, aged 31, still an absolutely phenomenal talent. You can see the ratings as well to back up that ability that he has. George is still at the club. Things we love to see. Luis Fernando was not one of our players. Was he one of the big purchases they made? I think he was one of the big purchases made. You can see here, he actually had a loan spell in the second tier of Germany. I can't help but feel like Tuchel was sacked for signing this guy for 48 million, who was barely good enough to play in the Bundesliga 2 a few years later. He really isn't very good, is he? Elsewhere in the team, Gurajaga, aged 32, is still going strong. 4 goals, 4 assists, 4 player of the matches. there's a common trend there. At least he's consistent across the board. And the last of the players I recognise in the first team is Ivan Pena, who, I mean, is described as a legendary centre-back. And when you look at that polygon, is he one of the best centre-backs I've seen in Football Manager this year? Like, he is absolutely monstrous. Signed for 126 million, regularly played. Of course, there was always those concerns around his injury proneness. Would that hold him back? It does look like he has missed periods of football through injury, to be fair, over the years. But nevertheless, very, very good player on his day. I hope he's still rocking the green headband. So for this season just gone, they didn't win the Champions League. They actually got knocked out in the quarterfinals by Dortmund. But if we just look at the Champions League, you can see just 1 year ago they managed to win it. Prior to that, though, 3 years without much success in the competition. If we just look at that previous season where they did win it, who did they play in the final? Who did they beat? They took on Everton. Oh, the old enemy played in the Champions League final. On this occasion, they won 2-1. And it had to be. Heinz Winter got a goal in this game. Of course he did. The man who looks like he's been the main source of goals in the team. He got 28 last year. Still doing his thing. I mean, on the whole, the Palace team, I mean, when you look at that team, is that a team made up of entirely of players I signed for the club that won the Champions League? I mean, I don't want to blow my own trumpet. They are all players that I signed. I feel like the other managers who have come in have kind of just been able to piggyback off my work. I'm kind of interested to look at transfer business because, of course, we left things, you might remember, and there was just really no transfer business being done that first year after kind of Tuchel took over and had the summer. You can see they actually sold McIntosh to Leeds for 24 million. I mean, that just upsets me. But at 31, 145 caps is absolutely mad. Elsewhere, Perry Harris, who was a homegrown at club player, they sold for peanuts. He's now playing for Tottenham. Year after that, did they sign anyone? No. In fact, they sold Charlot, who was one of the big additions that was signed by Tuchel. They sold him on for a profit. Kind of mad. In the 3 seasons after I left the club, they didn't sign a single player. They were so happy with the squad that they had, the AI Thomas Tuchel, they did nothing. Now, it looks like, to be fair, in the last couple of years, Nagelsmann has done a little bit more work. In fact, looking at things here, they made a really big sell. Nicolas Lozano, I was bigging him up last time out. He moved for 150 million. He's ridiculous, isn't he? Wow. I can't believe they sold him for 150 million. He got 15 goals in his first season in the Bundesliga. He's got 10 goals this year and 16 assists. 150 million pounds? Oh, he would have been incredible. I mean, if we'd stayed at Palace, as I said, I probably would have built around him over Zambergen. I don't know if that would be a controversial kind of approach, but looking at things here, he is absolutely mad, isn't he? The 27-year-old. His kind of goal-scoring return at club level is just ridiculous for a wide player. Of course, it does go without saying, and I say this with all these in the future videos, but I appreciate new people come along all the time. With these videos, I can't really get all the info into these videos. I mean, naturally, I'm going through like a decade of Football Manager. So if there's stuff that pops up on screen that I miss that you notice, let me know it down in the comments. Equally, when I'm back from my kind of breakaway, I'm probably in the description of the third in the future video, I'm going to include a download link to all the in the future saves. So if you want to load up the save games yourselves and look for it in loads of nitty gritty detail, you will have that option. If you've watched this video and you're sat craving more, you'll be able to get a little bit more very soon, I promise you. So in this most recent season, a few familiar faces leaving us. David Lind sold to Bayern Munich. I mean, it just seems like we've turned into a Bayern Munich feeder club in my absence. To be fair, Lind didn't exactly put in the most impressive numbers after we left the club, but still a very, very good player. Kind of sad to see him go. Elsewhere, Ballester, who I was bigging up as my big gift to the club when I left. He's okay. He's gone to Brentford. He's 22. He's got 2 caps for Argentina. I guess they've made money on him, but slightly underwhelming. I thought he'd do a little bit better than that, to be fair. But to be honest, there's not been that many huge sales. Like, as I said, it looks like there's been a few of the Kia kind of older players rather, just be let go at the end of their contracts. Players like Lopez, Juan Pablo da Silva also left at the end of his contract. But the team actually, when you look at it, hasn't really changed that much in the last 5 years. I mean, if we just look here at landmarks, you can have a look at all the different stuff that happened. Looks like Duan Jin has scaled down his funding sooner. So whether or not that's going to spell disaster for the club in the next few years remains to be seen. Tullio was appointed as captain a few years ago. Of course, the club won pretty much everything recently. The Champions League's been won since I left. It looks like, actually, they finished runner-up on a few occasions. I missed that previously. If we just look at things here. So we won it 3 years in a row and left. And in back-to-back years, 2039 and 2040, they lost in the final twice before finally winning the final against Everton. So, yeah, that's a tiny bit disappointing. Losing as well to, if we just look here, Manchester City and PSG. I mean, I'm upset. I hope you are too. Now, because our next time jump is going to be 5 years into the future, I'm fearful that some of these players might have gone by then. I'm just looking here to see if there's any players who have left the club who are in the best 11 who we haven't already looked at. Erling Haaland looks like he went to Atleti, which we saw last time. He retired a few years ago now, aged 38. Elsewhere, McIntosh, we had a look at him. He is still alive and kicking. Kayondo is still in Crystal Palace colours. And the rest of these players, for the most part, I mean, Collins has retired, but I'd say over 75% of the players are in the Dream 11 when I left the club. It's still at the team 5 years later. I'm kind of surprised at how little the team has changed. Media prediction for this year was first as well, by the way. If we just look at the season preview, Fontana's there, Peña's there, Horniak's there. Definitely not quite as dominant, I suppose, in the Media Dream 11 as they once were. Worth noting, actually, I've just seen Coldente. That's right. I don't know why I'm struggling over his name so much. We looked at signing this guy, I think, in one of the live transfer specials, and I decided he wasn't worth the money. I'll be honest, having looked at him now, maybe probably could have, should have signed him. He's very good, isn't he? I did also spot, and I'm sure someone else spotted this, a wild Talha Chabuk is in the Media Dream 11 at centre-back. Of course, we sold him for 170 million to Newcastle. I'll be honest, not the most overwhelming numbers. Not underwhelming, just whelming numbers. He's done fine. Anyway, I've already spent over 15 minutes just looking through 5 years in the future. We're now going to go 10 years into the future. I'm anticipating a lot of fan favourites to have retired or be very much in the twilight years of their careers. Hopefully a few of them are still around. Hopefully Heinz Winter's still banging them in. Hopefully Crystal Palace is still kind of challenging right at the very top. It does appear, at least right now, like they are. Although I have just noticed the bank balance is a little bit in the red. I mean, Dwanjin scaled down his funding. Let's hope the finances aren't going to go to pot in the next 5 years. So I've gone forward another 5 years, and, well, I don't get nervous. I am shaking a little bit here. What is going to have happened? And I can see here already, we'll look at this first, a few best opinions. I assume these are some of our former players who have retired. Jovan Ciric, now manager at Espanyol, aged 39. Always rated him. I will say his actual attributes are absolutely awful. Elsewhere, Juan Pablo da Silva, very close relationship with him. Absolutely love him. He retired 2 years ago. He's not found a job yet. I mean, I can see why no one's employed him. He's not a very good manager. I hope he finds a job, otherwise he'll just retire from football and it'll all be very sad. I did also spot Sergio Lopez, who's also retired from football and isn't very good, hasn't found a job yet. And also Aaron Woodward. Remember Woodward? We sold him to Manchester United. He went to Roma for a few years. He has actually been... history. He left Roma in 2038? That can't be right. 2043 he left Roma. It's 4 years later and he's not found a job. Why are loads of the players that used to manage for me really bad as staff but also not finding jobs? I hope some of them find jobs, or it's going to be a bit sad when we go 50 years into the future and 20 years into the future and they're just not in football anymore. Anyway, as you can see in the top right, we are now 10 years in the future. So we're going to go and click on Crystal Palace. And good news, I think, they played a game against Inter Milan to end the season. They lost it, but they got to some kind of European final. What was it? It was the Champions League final. They lost it. I can see a Horniak. I can see a Kayondo. I can see a Fontana. I think some of the old guard are still here, which after a decade is exciting. And in fact, if we look at things here, look at that team. Now, yes, they did lose 3-2. I will say they lost 3-2 against a team with an XG of 0.38. So they were absolutely done on the night. Disgraceful. But you can see here, Kayondo in goal for the club, aged 32. Maybe finally, he's the first choice goalkeeper. Oh, in fact, Leonardo's retiring. Kayondo has waited a decade for Leonardo to retire. Now he's going to get his time to shine. What an exciting time for Kayondo. Elsewhere in the team, just to look at it real quick. Pabon played right back, Elpert played left back, Pena and Muller played in the middle, Fontana, Horniak and Winter all playing. In fact, looking at this starting 11, there's only 3 players who weren't here when we left a decade ago. I mean, it doesn't really happen in modern football that players stay at, clubs for an extended period of time. Imagine being a Crystal Palace fan in this scenario, where it appears, at least on the face of it, so many of your kind of heroes at the club have stayed for over a decade as part of a golden generation. And in fact, looking at things here, look at this. They have just had a spell of dominance. And there was even a manager change in there. Ricardo Rodriguez has become manager. Nagelsmann left the club after almost 5 years at it to go and be Bayern Munich manager. Ricardo Rodriguez has come in, the Swiss player, of course, in, well, I say real life. Has he retired in real life yet? I don't think he has retired in real life yet. I have to remind myself, we are now 25 years into the future from current day football. I'll say now, he is an absolutely phenomenal kind of manager in terms of how good he is on paper. He looks mad. You can see he's had a pretty successful career. I realise my face might be covering it. If I go to milestones, you can see it here better. So he retired from playing. He went to Monaco, Atalanta. Eventually he ended up at Liverpool, Dortmund, Real Madrid. Really built his way up, actually. And then obviously hired by Crystal Palace. He reached the top of the Swiss Hall of Fame and back-to-back Premier League titles under his management. What I will say is, not seeing any more Champions League wins. Obviously, they've just lost in a final. So I suppose the natural question is, what happened in the most recent years? And while looking at things here, I've been done by Nagelsmann, haven't I? He's done me here. He won the Champions League 3 years in a row. He did what I did. And he won the Premier League at the time as well. I mean, they beat Chelsea, they beat Manchester United, they beat Inter between 43 and 45. If he won the FA Cup and League Cup as well, he's literally matched my achievement, and I feel like I have to go back and be manager or something. Okay, so some good news. In the years where they won the Champions League, they only actually won the League Cup once. I believe these years where they lost in the final, incidentally, to Manchester City and didn't make the final the year before that, they were years where they won the Champions League. So I've not been completely outdone. In terms of the FA Cup past winners, yeah, less successful here. I feel like this was a competition we always kind of prided ourselves on as manager. You can see here, they did manage to win it 4 years in a row, to be fair. Obviously, that 4th year after we left the club, if I'm not mistaken. But since then, one final made, and they bottled it. So, not quite been the domestic champions you might expect. But if we just look at the Premier League, they've won it the last few years. They won it this year by 5 points. Not seeing any massive surprises here. I guess the fact Liverpool are down in 12th might be seen as a little bit of a shock. Year before, they won it with 93 points. Year before, 3-point lead at the top on 82. 89 the year before that, and 100 points against Everton. Fair play. That's a really, really good season in the 2043 one, where they did phenomenal. They only lost 2 games. 104 goals for. That's not bad, is it? Now, I'll be honest, when I went through all the players 5 years ago, I thought that'd be the last we were seeing of a lot of them. But actually, a lot of them are still at the club. I'm going to go through them relatively quickly, just flicking through. Of course, there's going to be some new players here, like this guy, who looks rubbish. And also, Nathan McLennan. He's crap. He would not have been in my team if I was still manager. Jan Muller, I believe, is either vice-captain or captain at the club. At 28, he looks absolutely mad. Elsewhere, we've got Edison Pabon, who's still at the club, age 30. He is mad. He's so well-rounded. Elsewhere, who else is familiar? I know there's some familiar faces. Where are they hiding? Heinz Winter, 32 years old now. Still very, very good. Described as a legendary striker. His goal-scoring record for the club is mad. He's got 200 league goals for Crystal Palace, all in the Premier League. That is absolutely mad. Look at that consistency over so many years. That is so cool to see. I guess he really has been, their main man for a number of years. Leonardo, we looked at before, he is about to retire. Came to the club, has spent 11 years here, pretty much as the regular first-team player throughout, with Kayondo as kind of his best friend, it would appear. Elsewhere, Andreas Carlier, his contract's up at the end of the year. His physicals have vanished, haven't they? What happened to you, Andreas? This is not the Andreas I remember. 36, to be fair. He is getting on a little bit. Elsewhere, Elpert is still at the club. He's 32 now, but still very, very solid. Are there any more? Fontana, aged 35, is still at the club. Few players being described as legendary here. I guess they've just been around a lot. Hornyak as well. Yeah, I can see why they might struggle in the next few years. All of these players' legs have just stopped functioning because they're all in their kind of mid to late 30s. And then we're back at Kyondo. So a lot of the old guard has now left the club. But you can see here, there's an ageing population here that's going to need to be sorted out. In terms of the wages that players are on, they have certainly dropped over the years. I can only imagine there's been a change in ownership. In fact, you can see here, Duanjin withdrew his funding last summer completely. So no more money being put into the club. They're currently £162 million in the red. I didn't see that before. That is a little bit concerning, isn't it? If we look at the Hall of Fame here, we'll probably be able to see lots of familiar faces. Marcus Tullio, considered a legend at the club. He left in 2044, ended his career at Liverpool. How the tables have turned. We used to steal all their players. Now they're stealing ours. Elsewhere, Zandbergen, still playing football, moved on a free to Real Madrid last year. 20 assists, 15 goals he got. He's 36, and he's perhaps had his best season in terms of numbers ever. Certainly since that season in 2043. Kind of crazy, that return, considering his kind of physicals, but I guess it's just his mentals and technicals are so good, and from set pieces, he is lethal. Feel a bit weird seeing him in Real Madrid colours, but I guess with all the financial issues going on, they just can't extend the contracts of a lot of players. Obviously, Hornyak, we've had a look at. He's still at the club. Fontana, we've already looked at. Gurajaga, retired aged 35. He retired 2 years ago. Ended at Crystal Palace. 156 goals to his name. Not too shabby. Elsewhere, George is playing for Barcelona. He left for Barcelona for 32 million. He's doing very, very well over in Spain. Seems like Barcelona and Real Madrid have just poached all the players from Crystal Palace since my departure. And in terms of favoured personnel, where is Pena? Pena has retired. Apparently he's retired, but we can still see him. He's 35. This is how good he was when he retired aged 35. He easily could have played a few more seasons, right? That is absolutely ridiculous from him. In fact, you can see he actually played the most recent season at Crystal Palace and still played 32 games. I mean, I'm kind of concerned that with their finances and with the current situation, troubling times could be ahead here. So just looking at the competition landmarks here, of course, you can pause and have a big deep dive. We've already looked at it a little bit, but they've consistently challenged pretty much everywhere still. But I do feel like there's a big kind of iceberg on the horizon, and I'm now sat spotting it, ringing a bell, trying to warn everyone. This Crystal Palace team could be in trouble. I'm just hoping that someone is going to heed my warning because, yeah, there is going to be some changes here. Having just lost a Champions League final, I'm worried for the club. If we look here at some of the records at the club, you can see most goals by players in seasons. Plenty of familiar faces here. Heinz Winter has been an absolute force over the last few years. If we look at highest average ratings over the years, you can see here Zandbergen absolutely dominant. Fontana and also Winter getting in on the action more recently. If we look at Fans Player of the Year, Zandbergen. It was the Zandbergen show after I left. I mean, yeah, he was very, very good, to be fair, out on the right-hand side. Feel a bit bad for Tullio. Just got completely forgotten about down at the bottom here. In terms of some of the records, you can pause it and have a look in a bit more detail if you'd like to. But Heinz Winter, 200 league goals. Most goals by players in a season. Still Gurajaga with his 39 goals. Elsewhere, most assists by a player in the season. Gurajaga. Most clean sheets went to Leonardo back in 2040. Bjorn Zandbergen, 23 man of the matches. Oldest goal scorer, Erling Haaland in 2037 as well, is kind of an amusing one. And, well, you can just see, from the looks of things, they've done rather well over the years. Now, this is really cool to see. The best 11 overall really encapsulates our time at Crystal Palace. There is one player I don't recognise in the starting 11, and it's this guy, Karim Sienta. He's wanted. Apparently, he joined the club for 32 million a few years ago now, and to be fair, he's putting good numbers without exactly putting in a good rating. But if we just look at everyone else around him, you can see some of the career numbers for players in games for Crystal Palace. Leonardo, 558 games. Pena, 535. Tullio, 511. Elpert, 465. Only one goal scored in that time by him, but cool to see a player we kind of brought in as a backup just stick it out at the club and really make himself at home. Horniak, 605 appearances. Zandbergen, 617. Carlier, 578. Mario Ruiz retired after a decade in Ukraine. Fair play to him. He gets to stay in the overall best 11, which we love to see. Marc-Antonio McIntosh is retiring at the end of the year. His legs have pretty much gone now. Of course, we saw that he was sold previously by Crystal Palace to Leeds. He's moved back to Spain. Chiric, still managing Espanyol. That's not changed from a couple of minutes ago. Interested to note that Eze and Facundo Torres, two players who were at the club when we joined way back at the beginning, still somehow sneaking in at the bottom. I say somehow, Eze, to be fair. 416 games played, but not quite the 617 games played by Zandbergen. I mean, is he the player of the series? He had that amazing performance in the comeback against Arsenal. And a lot of the history books suggest he's quite a good player over the years for the team. I don't know about anyone else. I just find it so fun doing these deep dives into save games where you go away and you kind of get to see what else could have been, what could have happened, what might have happened. Of course, I imagine if I was in charge, it would all be going way better. They would have won it every single year. There wouldn't have been this weird blip in the middle where they finished fourth and where they finished second. I genuinely not sure I can forgive Tuchel for those two incidents. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, of course, as well. Next time out, we're going to go 20 years and 50 years into the future. As part of that, we will look at all the different cup winners for major competitions over the last half a century. Naturally, with these kind of videos, they can be rather long and rather meaty, so I'd rather cover all of that stuff in the 50 years in the future section rather than kind of try and keep up to date with it. So if you've been holding out wanting to see who won the Champions Leagues, who's been winning the World Cups, some of that stuff, we'll be covering that next time. Thank you for watching, as always today. If you have enjoyed this deep dive, drop a like on it. If I didn't spot anything and you spotted it, maybe I'm blind, let me know what happened. Was there something really cool that I should have paid attention to? Maybe there was something amusing that you spotted. Let me know them down in the comments. Thank you for watching as always, gang. We're back soon with the next In the Future video. And until then, it is me, Jack, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.